So today we're talking about the new Valheim update 0.150.3, and I have to say I think this is actually quite a weird update, and I'll go into why that is in a second, but we're going to cover everything there is to know about this update in today's video. So the first thing to say is the new terrain modification system. Now this is probably the biggest thing in this update and the thing that most people are interested in, and maybe even a little confused about, as I sort of mentioned in my intro. Now the reason that they've done this is it's supposed to mean that terrain will load in faster, in particular when you're in a new world, so it should cause you less lag when you're doing your terraforming and stuff like that. So right now if we press F2, we can see here, if we're looking around, our FPS right there is going between about 75 and 85. It's dropped down to 70 now. Okay, so it's in that region. We've done a bit of terraforming in this region. Now, that's because this has not been optimized for the new update yet. What we need to do is go into the console like this, and this is the command you have to put in: opt terrain, like this. And when you press enter, you'll see it does stuff, right? It in the chat there, in the console, you can see changes are being made. So now that's been done, if I press F2, my FPS is still high. So I don't know if this is mainly for new worlds or whether, you know, because this is retrofitting it onto an old world. It is now coming down, to be fair. But the odd thing about this is this only works in an area of effect, right? This doesn't do your entire world. It just works in certain places, and you'd have to go around your world doing this in all the places that you've made terrain changes. Now, that's fair enough. Okay, there might be reasons they need to do it that way. But the bit that doesn't make sense to me is the new idea they have with stone. Before we talk about the weird change with stone, I just want to say I do live stream Valheim on a very regular basis. If you want to check that out, my Twitch link is down in the description. Hope to see a few of you over there. Do come say hello. Let's get on with the update video. So if you've done any terraforming in Valheim, any like big walls like this that you've been building around your base or something like that, you'll know that getting stone is difficult. It takes a long time to do. It's not easily accessible. Probably your best bet is to go to somewhere like the plains or spend a lot of time mining these types of rocks that you find in meadows. And to be honest, like that wasn't too bad before because we used to have a trick, right? We could use the raised ground trick to get our walls to the height we wanted, and from then on, what we could do is simply look at the top and build out. But as you'll see, this no longer works. So it used to be that when I would click here to raise ground, this wall would come over to essentially here, right? And where I'm now having to raise the ground from the bottom up, I wouldn't have to do that. So what they've done is they've changed the amount of stone it takes to raise a level. So before it was 4 per click. So essentially every time you do this, this would be 4 stone, 8, 16, 12, 16, right, and so on. Now it's just 2 each time. So in a way, it's now cheaper, but to make these big walls, it's going to be way, way more expensive than it used to be. And given how difficult stone is to get, and how nice it can be to use terraforming either for defenses in your Valheim base or even just for the aesthetical look of it, I honestly think this is a little bit of a mistake. I think if they're going to do this, at least make a way of getting stone a lot easier than it is, because right now this is going to take forever. So some other quick changes that are a part of this update. First of all, locked pets now have a different sound. This is not a locked pet, but it's a locked to represent a locked pet. So yeah, different sound for your locked pets. Also, when you find these standing torches in generated structures around the world, you'll no longer be able to build on top of them. You used to be able to do that, now you no longer should be. So yeah, that's now a thing too. They've also changed the dolmen sizes. Apparently the stone, there's like a fix with that, with them falling and stuff like that. This right here on screen is a dolmen. You would see them in Valheim. Yeah, not a big one, but something I had to mention. So there has been another really useful change, and that is with dragger spawns that you find in the swamp here, these body piles. Before, you might have noticed that sometimes a dragger would spawn inside a rock, and if that was a dragger with a bow, it'd be able to shoot you and be completely immune to your attacks and stuff, which was pretty crazy. That no longer happens. They all spawn properly in areas that you can get to them, so that is definitely much better. So on top of this, there are a couple of other changes as well. Some world loading tweaks so that with ships and buildings being damaged while loading, that should no longer happen. Also, they're stopping the serverless download when leaving the start menu. Doesn't really mean much for the average player of this game, other than, you know, it's decreased network bandwidth, which, yeah, okay, sure, that's good. But I don't know. I don't understand the stone change. I think it's, like, at the end of the day, once you've defeated the 5 bosses in Valheim, you really, like, building is kind of all you've got left to do, right? That's what everyone's going to want to do. Build up some cool bases, and doing them in survival mode adds, like, an extra challenge to that whole thing. So I'm not sure why they'd want to make it way more difficult to do that. I'd be really interested to know what you guys think about this down in the comments. You know, these changes, is this good? Is it bad? What do you think? Let us know in the comments, guys. But there we go. That's the latest Valheim update. What type of noise does a witch's car make? Broom, broom. How do you get a country girl's attention? A tractor. What did the police officer say to his belly button? You're under a vest. My wife asked me to stop singing Wonderwall to her. I said, maybe. Why do nurses like red crayons? Because sometimes they have to draw blood. What would the Terminator be called after he retired? The Ex-Terminator.